number one most important thing you could do for your gut health, where your microbiome, where 70% of your immune system exists, is to eat fiber-rich foods. And number two, focus on diversity. So to try to get, they found those who ate 30 different plant-based foods or more a week had a high-functioning microbiome.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Food Matters podcast, your home for nutrition, health and wellness education. My name is Laurentine. I am a filmmaker and a nutritionist and the founder of foodmatters.com, and I'm here to hold your hand on this journey to optimum health, transformation and emotional healing. Hello, Food Matters audience, Food Matters family, and we're back in the studio again. And today we have the pleasure of catching up with two twin brothers, the Happy Pears. Hey guys.
Hey Laurentine. Super lovely to be here.
Yeah, so good. So for those that don't know you, I am going to read a little bit about your bio first, and then we'll get into asking you guys some questions on behalf of the full Food Matters audience.
Brilliant.
Okay, the Happy Pear, founded by twin brothers Dave and Steve Flynn, is a wellness brand inspiring millions to embrace plant-based living. What began as a small vegetable shop in Ireland has grown into best-selling cookbooks, online courses, and a global health movement focused on making healthy eating fun, simple, and accessible.
Woo! That's a lovely intro.
So much fun to have you guys on. Okay, so I love talking about this topic because personally I love making food as our medicine. But what made this journey for you guys so much fun, for you to start up your own cookbook, recipe book, and Happy Pear business?
Yes, the business has grown in so many different ways, but it started out with we're identical twins. A long time ago in a womb. No, okay, I won't go that far back.
That sounds weird.
Yeah, that does sound weird. But we, for anyone listening, we're from Ireland, a small little town called Greystones, County Wicklow. It's nestled in between the Wicklow Hills, and it's by the sea, and it's a magical little land. And we grew up eating a standard meat and two veg diet, never really considered food and how it affected us. We went to all boys schools because that was the thing in Ireland, single sex schools. And we were very competitive. So we were playing a lot of sport, drank a lot of beer. We were kind of these, we excelled at being these kind of macho type males.
Jocks. Absolute jocks. We were those kind of stereotypes.
I know the type.
Yeah. You know the type.
Yeah.
And then we ended up at 21. We had just studied business and we had kind of been looking outside of ourselves for happiness. We both played off scratch and golf. We played semi-professional rugby. We did modelling. We played baseball for Ireland. We did loads of things that were like externally validating, but still felt a bit empty inside. And Steve turns to me one day and he says, Dave, I'm going away traveling. I'm not coming back till I'm happy. And you're not coming with me. And we had shared a room and shared a wardrobe. I don't think we'd spent more than, maybe 2 nights apart our whole life. So we both went away traveling separately. This is in 2000 to go see what else life had on offer. And we both ended up getting very interested in food and how food affects. It's at the crossroads of politics and health and environmental well-being and so many different things. Like you can vote with your fork, your knife and fork. And we didn't really realize that till that point. And both of us ended up becoming plant-based, getting into organic food and farming and all sorts of different things. And we spent a couple of years kind of getting really kind of moving from these jock stereotypes and got very into spirituality and meditation and all sorts. We tried all sorts of different things. And anyway, Steve calls me up and says, Dave, do you want to start a health food revolution? Those were his words. This is in 2003. And he said, I think maybe let's start with a vegetable shop, in our small little town. So we left as these two jocks, and then we came back 2 years later as these two totally changed people. People thought we were we'd lost the plot. People in our small little town, and we started this little vegetable shop, and we ended up calling it the Happy Pear because we're a pair of twins, and we were selling pears, so it was a pun. But we nearly called it Flynners fruit and veg for social change because it was very much about inspiring people to eat more veg from that day. And it's gone on from there to now where we've sold over 20 million of our food products and, 500,000 cookbooks. And,
we've a 4-acre organic regenerative farm and sourdough bakery and coffee roastery and cafe and shop. Loads of bits, but it's all with the same message to help people eat more veg and realize how how politics starts on your plate and how the simple act of eating can connect you to and support the world that you want to thrive.
Nice.
Beautiful, you guys. Well, it's very dear to my heart because, as James and I have also for many years been promoting the Food Matters film, and we started off grassroots like you guys. People were like, my parents were even worried. They're like, you're leaving your well-paying job to go and make a documentary film and travel the world telling people to eat healthy. Okay, good luck with your goji berry film. That was my the famous last words of my family. And yeah, we did the whole grassroots thing. And if it wasn't for people like yourselves that, start these sort of businesses and make a change in their community, we wouldn't be doing the health revolution and seeing the health revolution results that we are seeing today. So I commend you guys. I'm really proud of what you're doing. And so tell me what a pair of twins, healthy and plant-based eaters, would be having for breakfast. And while you're talking about your beautiful breakfast, could you tell us as listeners, what do you believe is the best way to start our body from the breaking our fast?
Yeah, I think everyone's different. And I think to give a one size fits all, I don't think is necessarily the best approach for me. But we tend to get up early. We tend to be larks. So we
larks, as he means early bird.
Like our circadian rhythm is much more set up to get up early and to seize the day. So I woke up around 6 a.m. I know I was filming YouTube videos this morning, so I went and gathered ingredients. The sunrise was stunning in Ireland. So right now we're on the cusp of spring in Ireland, and like often around these transition periods, the sky is insane. Like this morning it was like bright red, fiery, and like sunrise now is around 7:05 a.m. But around 6:30 the sky was literally on fire, and it was like I gotta go down to the sea. So I wandered down to the sea. I met Dave there. I met two friends, Linda and Deddy. They're both in their early 70s, and they swim every day. And we got in for a sea, had the chats.
And just for anyone who's based in Australia, you might think getting in the sea, oh, that sounds lovely and warm. But like we live in Ireland, and it's like it's really cold. But it's the most incredible.
I want to know how much degrees you got. What did you guys do this morning?
Probably like 5 degrees, 6 degrees,
oh
something
my
like
goodness.
that.
That's even hard to imagine because like the coldest it ever gets here in Sydney is 15, and I'm just like freezing myself.
Yeah, that's summer in Ireland, 15. In summer in Ireland, it hits a high of 16.
Oh my goodness. I'd be shaking out of the water. I'd probably be shaking the whole day. So how do you heat up your body after that?
Yeah, so normally, and just in terms of what the sea does for me, it reminds me, one, I'm small and insignificant. It helps me. I swim every day at sunrise, and it helps me connect with the seas and see the continuous changing of nature and just how beautiful. And it helps me appreciate the simple things of like warmth, of like safety, of just there's such a feeling of gratitude. It's almost like it resets my bar so much lower. But in terms of warming up afterwards, we're from Ireland, so I think we've oats in our blood. So there's a big bowl of porridge, and we make.
When we say big bowl, it is like a big.
We make loads of different food products, and this is one of our granolas. So we're just literally, this is goji berry. Ironically, you said goji berries earlier. There's lots of goji berries in this one. So we're just having a big bowl of porridge with some
like a pair of horses.
Yeah,
grade A stallions.
And I love.
Do you put anything in there, as in like some cinnamon? Do you have like some cardamom or any of these spices?
Like this morning we kept it very simple because it was just, I knew I wanted some central heating. Like we'll often say, like eating porridge in the morning is like eating your central heating. So this was just very simple. It was just porridge with a little bit of oat milk and water, and then we added some granola because it was just getting our central heating going. But we have been this week doing a juice feast. Like we've got a 4-acre regenerative farm.
What does regenerative mean, Dave?
Great question, Steve. Are you now the questioner now? But it's about building healthy soils, because obviously healthy food starts with healthy soils. So it's about regenerating the soils, and therefore the whole ecosystem kind of follows. So we've been doing a juice feast, and it's really for my mom and my father-in-law. They both definitely, I've been really want to support them. So I've been making liters of green juice, and they're
gnarly green juice. Like there's green juice made of cucumber and celery, but then there's green juice made of like mustard greens and chard and kale and rocket. Just like spicy and gnarly.
It tastes like wasabi.
Yesterday's. Oh, wow. Actually, sometimes it's good to put a little lemon in there just to like kill that bitter taste.
Yeah, I had lots of lemon and lime and apple, but they're quite pungent. But I like that's when you're talking about food as medicine. That stuff is like it'll bring anyone back.
Greens, guys, the bitter greens. That's where it's at.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So I juiced about 7 kilos of that yesterday and dropped them up, 2-litre bottles.
7 kilos?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's about 7 kilos of veg, and dropped them both up, and I had a good, glug of that as well. So that's a really great way of starting your day. But I think, like, sometimes, like, food is medicine. I 100% agree. And I think our attitude and our approach to life, there's so many aspects that, if you eat a bowl of kale with gritted teeth saying, I hate kale, that's not really going to nourish you. But where if you are sitting eating something less healthy with a joyous, open heart and feeling grateful and feeling abundant, that's going to nourish you no matter what.
Yeah, I think, often it's said with communication, it's how you say things are more important than what you say. Like, as in, context is more important than content. And I think with food, there's a psychosomatic relationship, as Dave was saying, that if you can eat something with, like, for example, we were up on the farm yesterday and I was harvesting some greens and just showering them in, and like the sun is shining. Like, I appreciate the amount of work that goes into build healthy soil. So I appreciate how nutrient dense it is, and there's such a joy in me, versus if I'm eating something I'm kind of, I shouldn't really eat this, and there's guilt in that. It's, they're very different relationships, and our body assimilates them quite differently. So I think context is as important as content. Ooh.
Yeah. Okay, talking about breakfast while we're on this topic, is there something that people make a lot of mistakes with when it comes to breakfast? I mean, you guys used to be jocks, so let's remember back in the day. What can people do to healthify their breakfast if they are making those mistakes?
Yeah, okay. Well, I think it's to, like, definitely breakfast, as you said, breaking your fast. So things that are high in water are great. More often than not, I'll eat chia seed pudding with lots of fruit. But I do eat porridge when it's cold. I just find it so nourishing. Both are high in water. But I think it's probably like it's the first meal of the day. So you are trying to set yourself up and set your body off and get your microbiome going in the right direction. So I think water-rich foods, like, definitely starting your day by drinking. Like, I did have a good half pint of water. First thing in the morning, we had a couple of cups of tea, of herbal tea. So there's, like, that kind of stuff is very important first. And then I guess trying to stay away from processed stuff as best you can, like the processed cereals, in terms of mistakes, if you can, or if you're going to eat them, to have them on top of porridge. And Stephen wants to say something world-class right now.
No, I think diversity.
Okay, Steve, bring it on.
Bring it on. So, like, if you look at the American Gut Project, where they studied 14,000 stool samples, imagine that for a job. If anyone's having a bad day, imagine that, examining 14,000 stool samples. But they found out that the number one most important thing you could do for your gut health, where your microbiome, where 70% of your immune system exists, is to eat fiber-rich foods. And number two, focus on diversity. So to try to get, they found those who ate 30 different plant-based foods or more a week had a high-functioning microbiome. So they had a greater capacity to have a stronger immune system. It would have benefited their mental health. There was lots of positive effects. So as much as it's to eat plant-based, it's to focus on diversity. So, for example, if I'm making a chia seed pudding, I'll put sunflower seeds, I'll put pumpkin seeds, I'll put cacao nibs, I'll maybe have 5 different pieces of fruit in it. I'll really try to get like 10, 15 types of fruit and veg in it just to kickstart the day, because I think it's something, 9 out of 10 people in most Western societies, Australia included, don't get the recommended daily intake of fiber. And we live in a protein-obsessed society, and fiber you only get in fruit, veg, beans, legumes, nuts and seeds, and whole grains. So I think the more we can base the majority of our diet on whole plant foods, the more beneficial it is for us and for the greater ecosystem.
Wow, quite the rant, Steve.
Beautiful, you guys. And you said there are some things that you actually stock in your shop. Is there any like special products that you guys stock in your shop that you've been working and formulating so hard and to create?
I guess we started with the vegetable shop, and then back about, I'd say it was maybe 8 years ago, we had a sprout farm. So we were growing wheatgrass and other kind of sprouted seeds and beans. Our brother was doing triathlons for Ireland, and he was looking for something to give him the edge. And he found out wheatgrass. Another brother? Yeah, we have another brother. Yeah, we have another 2 brothers. So he was looking for things to help him physically really perform at a super high elite athlete level. So he was drinking a lot of wheatgrass and eating a lot of alfalfa and broccoli and mung beans and all these sort of things. So he was feeling so much better that we started a farm doing all this type of stuff. And he was selling this to local shops and independent stores. And then overnight there was an outbreak of, there was bad press about sprouts. So overnight his business was gone. And Stephen at the time was making a pesto. It was a sprouted nut kind of pesto. And it was really popular. We used to sell 10 tubs of it maybe a week. So Dara kind of thought, well, why don't we try selling your pesto? So he started making Steve's pesto and selling whatever, 10, 15, 20 tubs, 30 tubs. And that was the start of our food products business. And that's, as we said, that's gone on to now where we've now got a range of over 80 products. They're all plant-based. They're all whole food, minimally processed, and they cover meals and soups, and there's pizzas, there's sauces, there's pestos, there's hummus. And as we said, we've sold more than 20 million of them in Ireland, and we're now launching into the UK. And they're all based like clean ingredient decks. They're as best quality as we can do. And the big thing is that they taste really good.
Oh, I love that, you guys. That's so awesome. That's so good. It's like a formulation, you need to get it right and it needs to taste good.
Yeah, and it needs to taste good first, because in our world of, most of our palates, taste has to come first,
And so how does it work? Let's talk about the kitchen. Let's say you're in your kitchen and I want to use let's talk about all different varieties, all right? So we talk about oils first. I want to use some oils. What sort of oils would you recommend? Do you feel overwhelmed by all the conflicting health and nutrition advice out there? Are you tired of spending time and money on specialist appointments only to leave you with more questions than answers? Well, you're not alone. If you're listening to this podcast, chances are you value your health and want to take the best care of yourself and your loved ones. At Food Manners, we believe your body is worthy of good care, and no one is more qualified to care for it more than you are. That's why we created the Food Manners Nutrition Certification course, a world-class program designed to help you cut through the confusion and transform your health with trusted science-backed nutrition knowledge. In just 12 weeks, you'll gain the tools to heal yourself and others, learning from some of the greatest minds in nutrition, including Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Libby Weaver, Krista Orecchio, and more. And as a special thank you for Food Matters podcast listeners, you're offered 20% off enrollment, automatically applied when you use the link in your show notes. So head to foodmatters.com/study.
So back about 10 years ago, we were doing kind of healthy cooking classes. We're chefs and we were doing kind of teaching people how to cook. Like in Ireland, the diet traditionally was meat and 2 veg. So we were running these cooking classes, teaching people how to cook with lentils and, whole grains and like how to soak a chickpea and boil it and this kind of cooking things. And we found it really wasn't making much change. So Dave at the time was reading a book by Dr. Dean Ornish, who was one of the first doctors to prove in clinical trials you could reverse the indicators of cardiovascular disease or heart disease. And Dave went, I wonder, would this work with Irish people? So I went down to the local doctor, knocked on Brendan Cuddy. How are you, Bren? We're the lads from the Happy Pear. We want to reverse heart disease. Are you in? And he said, I'm a bit busy, lads. We'll talk to Angela next door. And we said the same to Angela. And I went, I'm a bit busy. And we said, we'll pay you 50 quid. And he said, right, I'm in. So we put up, at the time, there was no social media, so we couldn't put a post on social media. So we did the next best thing. We made posters and we put them on lampposts around the town saying reverse heart disease, skinny, sexy, free.
4 weeks. It was a
four-week course. And in Ireland, one of the best media outlets is the Parish Bulletin, which that's like the church. The church would do a little flyer each week talking about what's going on in the town. And we advertised in that. 20 people signed up. They came in the first night and Angela was literally down the back of the veg shop, sitting amongst the cabbages there with her pinprick cholesterol measuring machine.
Blood pressure.
So we measured everyone's cholesterol, weight and blood pressure starting off. They came upstairs to us. And this is before kind of Netflix and this is kind of before your documentary.
Had been out.
And we were teaching people how to cook. It was like Veg AA. It was talking about support, community, how to eat more plant-based foods. And we wanted to put them on a whole food plant-based diet for 4 weeks, reduce their oil, reduce their fat intake, and just really focus on how they can reduce the indicators of cardiovascular disease. So how could they lower their cholesterol, lower their blood pressure, and ideally lose weight. It came the end of the 4 weeks. We didn't know if it was going to work. We were really nervous. We were like, geez, we've promised a lot here, Dave. I really hope this works. I hope that doctor lad was right. And the results came in and there was an average drop of cholesterol at 20%. Everyone lost weight. Anyone with elevated blood pressure brought it down to...
Nearly all of them brought it down to
healthy levels. And subsequently, the courses, we've probably had 20, 30, 50,000 people through it. And we built a whole online platform.
With a cardiologist.
With cardiologists and gastroenterologists.
But aside from that, back to your question on the oils, for cardiovascular disease, we cut out all oils completely. For heart health, it was, that was the research, which is kind of like... it's a bit edgy or whatever, but we found that to be the most effective way of cutting out all oils, because they can be inflammatory on your blood vessels and on your cardiovascular system. So, and maybe like everyone's got food can almost be religious, and we all have different views and ideas on it. And I know seed oils now are the enemy and they're the devil and whatnot. But essentially any oil, like even olive oil, you take an olive, you squeeze it, you remove all the fiber, it goes through a mill, and you're left with nothing but the fat. Like you've got traces of vitamin E in it, but you're pretty much just, you're the most calorific dense substance on the planet. So it is the epitome of a refined food when you look at the definition of it. So I think oils they're great. They make things taste really good, but for our long-term health, try to use as little of them as possible,
and try to focus on whole foods, like
whole food source of fat.
Whole food sources. Like as chefs, oil is wonderful. Oil increases the heat. It enables more distribution of that heat, so you can get even caramelization. It increases the calorific load. It's wonderful. But I think with health, it's to find that balance that food is really healthy, but it also tastes good. So I think with oils, I think they're wonderful and they can enable you to achieve more flavor. But I think I personally try to use them as little as possible.
Wow, that is really interesting. So not even the coconut oils, or not even the butters or the ghees?
No.
I'll use some in a spray bottle, so I'll use a very small amount. But I guess our focus is on whole plant foods rather than refined foods. And oil is lovely, and it's really...
We do take an omega-3 supplement from algae or whatever, just to make sure getting healthy fats. But that's everyone has, as I said, everyone has their own different approaches, and that's what we found.
Yeah, well, I love the research there. There you go. There's always importance of having that backed up with research, and it comes out to be right. So if that is the case, we need to listen. We need to listen to the experts. Let's talk about sweetener alternatives. We're all sugar fans. We all love to have a bit of sweetener, but rather than using the refined sugars, what do you guys turn to in your plant-based kitchen?
Yeah, I think we live in quite an obesogenic environment where, the palate has shifted massively. Even if we've had a vegetable shop for 20 years. And when we first started it, we used to sell, 10 kilo bags of potatoes, and people wouldn't know the different varieties. They'd be excited, the Queens are in, or the Golden Wonders are in, or I need some Cur Pinks for chipping. Nowadays people come in and, we used to even sell like aubergines, which you guys call eggplants. We used to just sell because people didn't know what the hell they were. Lemongrass we didn't sell. Like, the palate, we've literally seen the palate change massively to nowadays. People don't know the potatoes. They just go to, you've washed potatoes. So that's, and now we sell food from all over the world. So there's a huge shift in the modern day palate. Even when we were children and we used to go trick or treating, I don't know if you do that. You go,
at
Halloween. We'd get mostly what we'd call monkey nuts, peanuts in their shell. In Ireland, we used to get them 20 years ago, and we used to get...
It's like 30 years.
Sorry, 30 years. Yeah, 30 years ago.
35.
35 years ago. Okay. We used to get monkey nuts. You'd get some apples, some satsuma, some clementines, and you might leave with 5 sweets. When I go trick-or-treating with my children last year, I think, Theo, this was in 1 hour. We got 192 bars of chocolate, and it weighed about 3.5 kilos. So there's been a radical shift in terms of the availability of refined foods, such as refined sweeteners. So it's quite difficult. But in terms of, to answer your question directly, focus on fresh fruit, focus on dried fruit. And then if you are going to have your cake, enjoy it. Don't eat it with guilt. Like, eat it with, life is to be celebrated. Food is a joy. Food is one of the greatest pleasures on this wonderful adventure we call life. And I think many of us see cake as bad, and we label things as a cheat day and I'm bad for eating cake. I think it's like, have your cake and enjoy it. Like, we spent so many years trying to make the superest, healthiest cake ever. And it was like, just eat a feckin' apple. And we get people coming into the shop all the time. Do you have a gluten-free, dairy-free, nut-free, sugar-free, raw vegan cake? And I'm like, we sell apples and bananas next door, which is just like, stop making things so complicated. So for me, it's like, if you're going to have your cake, if it's got refined sugar in it, it's got maple syrup, coconut.
Just enjoy it and just have a green drink afterwards.
Yeah, or don't even bother. Just enjoy it. Enjoy it with gratitude and go, thank you.
Because love and laughter, they're just as important as what we eat. So I think we would have originally, when we first started our cafe and restaurant 20 years ago, everything would have made out of coconut blossom sugar and agave syrup and no refined sweeteners at all. Whereas over the last 5 years, we've gone, these are just more expensive. They're more exclusive. They're more elitist. like if you're going to eat sugar, just eat
Oh.
sugar and don't be fooling yourself. It's a lot cheaper. It's like you're not like, I don't think any of them are any healthier because they are all refined in their very nature. So it's just like eat more of the other stuff. And if you're going to have cake, eat cake and really enjoy it and don't beat yourself up over it.
Oh, wow. That's so Irish of you guys.
Yeah, different approach.
Okay, I love that answer. Thank you so much. So let's go to dairy alternative. If I step into your kitchen and I want to make something that normally calls for cream or milk, what would you guys say? What would you suggest?
Yeah, there's loads of different approaches. Like, the market has changed massively. Like in that there's, even in the cafe, we must have 10 or 15 dairy alternative milks. Like you can milk any nowadays. So, oat milk is my preferred milk of choice. I think soy is probably healthier.
We use in my house
because soy, you're going to get more phytoestrogens, and it's going to be less sweetened, because often oat milk, when it's made, they'll ferment the oat milk first to make the sugars more readily available, and that's why it tastes fabulous and it's lovely. And that's why even in our cafe, probably over 50% of all coffees now with milk will be based on oat milk, because it's lovely and sweet and it balances the natural acidity in coffee. So I prefer oat milk. But you get rice, you can have soy, you can have almond, you can have spelt, you can have hazelnut, you can coconut, you can have, there's any amount, cashew, pistachio, etc., etc., etc. In terms of dairy alternatives, like in terms of directly cream, there's wonderful ones. We use one in the cafe based on red lentil protein, and it literally mimics like cream perfectly. Like, so there's any amount of it, and even butters. There's we even make our own butter very easily using miso and soy lecithin, and just combining a saturated fat and a monounsaturated fat to create like literally something that tastes perfectly like butter. And there was no, I guess it's not a byproduct of the animal industry. But yeah, I guess there's so much, and it's so easy to do nowadays. Back 15 years ago, it was quite hard, but now it's easy. Really, really easy.
Okay, we're going to a question that's probably not my question, but for any of those listeners that still has this as a question, is organic better?
Yeah. Okay, well, like once again, it's saying that like first and foremost, it's eating more of the whole food. So that's the name of the game. Everyone's got different, financial accessibility and different affordability, and everyone's on a different place on the whole health journey. So it's saying that as a caveat to start with, that it's about eating more of the fruit and veg, the whole grains, the beans to start with. That's the name of the game. Because quite often people go, oh, well, it's not organic. I'll just eat the pizza, or I'll eat the chips, and I'll eat the burgers and whatever. So really like we have an organic farm, and we've had a fruit and veg shop for 20 years where we've been to, we really see how things are grown, and we really, we've been on so many farms, so much so that we started our own farm. So organic is from our perspective 1,000,000 times better. And there will be research which will say, oh, there's no more nutrition, there's no vitamins, minerals, but it's so much better for the environment. Like there's just everything starts with the soil.
Even to tell one little story, back about 3 months ago, we had 120 kids come to the farm. And they arrived at the farm. The first group, there were 60 kids. It was kind of a manky out day, but they arrived with their wellies and their raincoats, and they were about 8, something like that. And they arrived, and we were saying, oh, welcome to the farm. And, do you know vegetables? And I kind of asked, what does organic mean? And I said, some kids said, no chemicals. And I said, yeah, exactly. And then someone said, no poisons. And I went, yeah, correct, no poisons. And then someone said, one of the kids said, why would you spray poison on your food? And it was like, if an 8-year-old kid says it so simply, you're like, oh my God. And I think when people, like back 40 years ago, there was no such thing as organic, because that was just the way we grew. We naturally worked in harmony.
Organic, because that's all there was.
Exactly. Whereas nowadays we've labeled organic as this elite thing that you can grow food in harmony with nature, versus you look at non-organic, I guess it's built by the food system, which is promoting efficiency and promoting, affordability and affording appearance and shelf life. But it's at the expense of nature, and often at the expense of our health. Because if you look at, all minerals come from the soil, they're typically a byproduct of ground up rocks. So like much of modern day farming is in soil that's devoid of nutrition, and they'll follow the NPK model. So they'll literally put in artificial fertilizer or synthetic fertilizer, putting nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium in. And literally it's like allowing a human to survive via a drip, a medical drip.
Which we can do, which is amazing, but it doesn't encourage our microbiome.
It doesn't create optimum human beings.
Yeah, and it doesn't so like the NPK fertilizer model is that same analogy of a human can survive drip fed, but if you can eat your food and it goes in and so much of it is processed by your microbiome, your good health is so central to so many aspects of your health. So it's the same way with if you grow organically, you support the healthy soil, you support healthy plants, you are creating the plant's health is a symbiotic relationship with the microbes in the soil. And if you've got healthy microbes, you've got healthy soil. Like microbes are 4 billion years old, whereas plants are only about 300,000 years old. So microbes are the original. If you've got healthy microbes, it all starts with the microbes, and then the plants follow that. And nutrient density and health all starts with the soil, like it really does. It's this symbiotic relationship. So we are 1,000,000%. We only sell organic in our shop. That's what we believe in, even though it's more expensive and it isn't accessible to everyone. But
I think it's a human right.
It's a human right. If people say to me, well, I can't afford it, this breaks the budget, organic, I can't afford it, I always say, well, you put your staples in the ground yourself. So for example, the basil, you don't need a big garden to grow basil. You don't need a big garden to grow spring onions. And, we grow our capsicums ourselves, we grow our cucumbers ourselves. And that's actually just a really small little backyard. And you could do that from a balcony even, So just to get yourselves with your hands in the soil and just using your hands to grow something. Also, that to me feels organic, So there's a lot of ways that you can do organic on a budget.
Yeah. And I think it's about doing your best and realizing that health isn't perfect. And I think often your approach can be as healthy if you have this healthy approach that you appreciate, even non-organic stuff that isn't perfect, and you enjoy it and you have gratitude for it. I think that can be as healthy as eating organic stuff, kind of quibbling over it's not quite as bionutrient dense as the other one.
So true. And what about some of the education materials? Do you guys have any ways to help other people learn about what you do and how to eat plant-based in your shops?
Yeah, 100%. So we've always been on a mission. Our business was started to create social change and use the medium of food to create healthier, happier people and to bring people together. So if people are looking for more recipes, we have 50 million views on YouTube and they're all free. We've 7 cookbooks, they're all best-selling and they're, great cookbooks. And then we have a whole membership platform where we have on our app where we'd have a recipe club helping people. There's hundreds and hundreds of recipes helping people to eat more veg. And then we have courses with medical experts kind of explaining why to eat more plant-based and really support.
And they're kind of interesting. They all came out of we started the Happy Heart course, which is with a cardiologist. We have a gut course with a gastroenterologist. We have a menopause course with a senior consultant gynecologist. We have a sleep course with a neurologist.
We have a course called a Happy Hard On course with a urologist. We haven't released, but we found out on YouTube, many people search YouTube, with erectile dysfunction. We've, if anyone watched that movie Game Changers, there was an interesting piece on erectile dysfunction, and we formed a course with
Dr. Aaron Spitz.
Dr. Aaron Spitz, who's a urologist. So literally, he wrote the book called The Penis Book. And we built a course. Yeah.
And we built a course on eating, how food and lifestyle, can impact your erections if you're a male.
Right. Okay. That's really good information, guys. Check that out. Okay. So we'll make sure to put all those links in the show notes so people can access this information. But we're getting to the end of this beautiful interview. I love that you guys are getting this information out there. It's so important and so needed. And also the Happy Pear recipe books. I'm sure that there is just be so much fun to create and to keep creating those in the kitchen. And just for those people that are on the fence about going plant-based, what have you got to say in regards to your healthy lifestyle that you've now adopted?
I'd say it's like those words vegan and vegetarian and plant-based and all those words kind of exclude people. So I'd say it's really, we all want to live a vital, energetic, and feel really good in our bodies. And food is so important. It's something so much of us just take for granted. We just eat the same things each week. And our health is made up literally by what we eat and how we live today. It kind of compounds. So I would say that it's eating more whole foods, like eating more of the brown stuff, eating more of the fruit and veg, and doing your best and not taking any of it too serious, because if you get stressed out over it, that's probably going to be worse than.
And I think remembering that we're all going to die one day, but we want to live a vital, vibrant life. And I think the more we can, appreciate our food and appreciate the little moments and remember that life is fleeting and that, enjoy it all.
I love that. Wow. Thank you so much, you guys. And thank you for your inspiring chat and sharing your wisdom with the world. Keep up what you do and hope to meet you in person one day.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lauren team. Really
cheers, Lauren team. That was great.
So yes, thank you everyone for listening. I really enjoyed that talk. I hope you did too. And there will be more of these on the Food Matters podcast. So head to foodmatters.com and see you again.